Hi guys, my name is Justin, and today we're going to be covering how you can potentially avoid filing for bankruptcy. Welcome to the Ascend Finance YouTube channel, where we take complex and hard to understand topics and try to break them down into simple, understandable language. Now, you may be at a place currently where you're looking at different ways to tackle your debt, and you may be wondering, is bankruptcy my only option? Today, I want to kind of go through the different ways that you can potentially avoid and the options available. Like I said, bankruptcy may be the last thing you want to end up doing, so why not try something else? Well, luckily, there are plenty of alternatives to choose from and learn about. Now, if you are interested to see what your potential estimate cost would be for each of these alternatives, you can actually take our bankruptcy alternatives calculator that I linked in the description below, and that'll help you compare a personalized set of options based on your specific data and information to your specific zip code. Nevertheless, let's start with the first option here, and I'm going to be touching on debt settlement. So this is one bankruptcy alternative that you can look into, and that's called debt settlement. It also goes by debt negotiation, debt relief. Sometimes they'll pitch it as a debt consolidation program, but it's debt settlement. So this can be a great option for you to move forward with if your debt becomes unmanageable to continue paying. Now, there are many similarities between debt settlement and bankruptcy, and which I can touch on as well. So what is debt settlement? So in a nutshell, it's the idea and the negotiation process of taking, let's say, $100,000 and negotiating it down to $50K. Now, you can do this yourself, or you can work with a debt settlement firm. And there's pros and cons to doing it alone, which we actually talk about in a different video, which I'll ideally link in the description below. But yeah, so the actual process of it all is simply negotiating with the creditors and settling it to a lower amount. A complicated process as well, which I want to touch on now. So understanding the process of debt settlement. When going through the process of debt settlement, most of the time, you'll use a debt settlement company to guide you through the experience. Now, you want to keep in mind though, when looking for a specific debt settlement companies, you always want to do your research before to make sure it's the right one for you. Now, let's get into the process of it all. Debt settlement companies are the link you need for what you owe to the debt and the creditor. So the debt settlement company will make you, let's say here in this case, they'll make you an escrow account, and that's where all the funds will be collected. So from there, they will put together all of the payments into one for the creditors, and they'll disperse that depending on how much you owe to each creditor on the new settlement. Now, they will become your primary contact and negotiate for you to lower the debt amount. From there, you'll decide to either accept, decline your settlement and new monthly payment plan. Now, once you've accepted, you'll actually start sending payments to the creditors until you finally stop paying off your debt there. So may sound pretty good. We also have to consider the negative impacts, as it may bring potential negatives to it. So first one is how your debt settlement can actually damage your credit score, depending on your situation and the score going in. Sadly, most of the time, it will have a negative effect on your credit score throughout the process. And so it is a good idea to consider the pros and cons depending on your specific situation. You also want to think about the costs and fees of a debt settlement program. Debt settlement companies often charge fees based on the rolled debt amount or how much they're saving you. Now, there's also other options to look at. Another one potential alternative to bankruptcy you can consider is debt management. So similar to debt settlement, this is going to be where negotiating is there as well. But debt management is when you collaborate with a company such as a credit counseling or debt consolidation company to help manage the debts you owe. Now, debt management isn't a company that will lend you more loans or settle your debt. Debt management is more so helping lower your interest rates when paying through the company. For instance, debt management will try to negotiate the debt interest down from, let's say, 22% to 7%, as well as be able to waive certain fees. This should help you to use that money towards the monthly payment that you owe, and which ideally should allow you to pay off your debt faster. So how's this process like to apply for a debt management company? So when meeting with a debt management counselor, the agency will look through all of your debts. From there, they will determine and estimate the amount it will take to pay off your debts within the certain time frame. Typically, it's about a 3 to 5 year long plan. That is when a monthly payment will be created for you depending on how much debt you need to pay off. Then you will start making those payments toward the company, and they will pay towards your creditors instead. So there shouldn't be any worry about paying each month, since they will be paying for you. After a couple of years, you should have it all paid off. Though don't be fooled yet, just because there are some cons you have to remember. The thing that credit counseling companies and nonprofit debt management agencies are great at doing is making it seem as simple to do. Although you need to make sure you are getting a full picture when thinking about using a debt management company or enrolling into a debt management program. Now, something you should definitely know is the service or the maintaining fees you'll have to be paying for. So not only you'll be paying for your debts throughout the monthly plan, but also the added fees for using the company or that agency. Now, adding those additional fees may not be saving you any money when paying off your debts, looking at it from a total holistic view. Now, not only that, but you must close all of your credit cards because they want to make sure you don't owe more in debt over time. You also want to understand the credit score impact as well. Many people also compare debt settlement to debt management, as they are similar with the idea of negotiating. Besides that, depending on your situation, this can still be a good option to move forward with. And the next alternative I want to touch on is debt payoff planning. An alternative you consider is using an actual debt payoff planner. We actually built a debt payoff planner like this. It's called Savvy, and this is an app, so an application on your phone, so either iOS if you have an Apple, like an iPhone, or an Android phone, where you can help, where it's going to ideally help you pay off your debt faster. So the Savvy Debt Payoff Planner has a zero-based budget and will encourage you throughout the process to help you get out of debt cheaper, easier, and faster. So it'll show you how the debt freedom date moves closer and how your debt decreases in real time. It's also super simple to use. You'll be able to add your bank accounts, credit cards, and loans that you're actually paying off, as well as automate a budget and a payoff planner for you to use to help reduce your expenses. So what is different about the Savvy Debt Payoff Planner? It's that they have their own method. It's the Savvy method. And this is comparatively to the snowball method or the avalanche method to pay off your debt. So now I want to kind of touch on the differences between those methods, like snowball comparatively to avalanche and to the Savvy method that we built, just to ideally give you a better understanding and so you can really compare it and make the most informed decision. So let's start with the snowball method. So the snowball method is when you're going to start by listing all of your debts from smallest to largest. And then from there, you're going to start paying off the smallest debt first and make your way to the largest. This is one of the more common methods, but much used because of how motivating it can be by cranking out one small debt at a time. When you start to see your debts paid off, it can become really encouraging to keep on going until the end. The one con though is that there is potential, you are ignoring the potential interest rates accrued over time. Now let's touch on the avalanche method. So the avalanche method is when you're going to list your largest interest accounts to the smallest interest debt accounts. Then you'll start by making the minimum payment on all your debts. Though once you start paying them off, you use those funds towards paying off the highest interest debt. From there, you'll keep on going with the same routine until you have all of the debts paid off. Now, the Savvy method for tackling it. The Savvy method is actually going to use the snowball and the avalanche method combined. Using this Savvy method will help encourage you as you pay off your small debts, though it'll also gain some of the interest savings by adding in the avalanche method. So ideally, you're going to get that encouragement from tackling small accounts first, while also acknowledging that there are some high interest accounts that you probably should prioritize. This, like I said, this will help you keep a lookout on your interest rate while also getting the psychological benefits from seeing your debts get paid off. If this aligns with your financial situation, then this could maybe be a potential option to use to help you pay off your debts. Now, another alternative, a debt consolidation loan. So you can also look into a debt consolidation loan as another alternative to you. Basically, a debt consolidation loan is a loan that combines all your debt into one. So since it is just one loan now, you'll have to only deal with one monthly payment. For example, let's say someone has 5 credit cards and $10,000 owed on each. So $50,000. And let's say the payment is $500 per month. So your average interest rate may be around 18%. What a debt consolidation can do is give you a $50,000 loan, about $475 a month, and the interest rate is down to around 15%. So this way you aren't stressed paying back the loans and you won't lose track. Getting a debt consolidation loan also may lower your interest rate, as we see in that example I provided. Although to get a debt consolidation loan, it does depend on your credit and how much you want to combine your debt. So one thing to mention is not to worry about your credit score or report. It really shouldn't hurt it. A debt consolidation loan can become more manageable for you to use if this aligns with what you are looking for. So there are other less common options, and I'll touch on a few of those right now. The first would be potentially doing a mortgage refinance. Now, even though it's not the most common alternative, mortgage refinancing could be a good idea. So how mortgage refinancing works is when the homeowner acquires a new mortgage loan and replaces their previous one. So for instance, let's say the mortgage is $500,000 worth and there's still $300,000 owed. You have, in this case, $200,000 in equity. Then you would refinance your mortgage for $400,000 and get $100,000 in cash. It's nice because now you have more funds and also save more on your mortgage interest. So here's the problem. $400,000 loan now, so your monthly payment is higher. Also, let's say you had 20 years left on a 30-year loan. Now with a $400,000 loan, you're back to a 30-year loan. Definitely doesn't sound fun, but it could be still of use as an alternative. So help from family or friends. This is also an alternative you can do, is to ask for help from either family or potential friends. Sometimes in certain financial situations, this might be an option you should still consider. Most of your family and friends don't ever want to see you financially struggle. So it can sometimes not hurt to just ask to borrow money as a loan or even to donate to you. The worst thing to happen generally is that they say no. From there, you can move on to the next friend or family member who you are close with that may be able to help you out. Just remember, it sometimes doesn't hurt to ask. Now, on the subject of less common alternatives, this next one is just increasing income. So this may not be super easy to do, but increasing your income can be another option for you to do. You can increase your income by picking up a second job to make some extra income on the side, such as working at retail store or your local restaurant. You can do this by doing some research online or going around town to see who's hiring. Keep in mind, if you are looking for a second job, find one that also earns tips from. That can be helpful. If you have a car, you can also look into working for companies like Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash. Like utilizing the resources you have, as there are these companies and opportunities out there to help make more money. What is nice about doing that, for instance, like Uber, Lyft, or DoorDash, is that you can create your own schedule and time. So whenever you are free, you can go around town picking up people, dropping off someone's meal. It's also a great way to earn more tips on the side. Now, doing something like this, earning more money, could also be a great thing to do with a debt payoff planner. So you'll make more money and also budget to ideally get out of the debt as quick as possible. Another option is freelancing, such as using Upwork to find small job opportunities, such as like rewriting articles, proofreading an essay, or doing a few sketches for someone. Again, it is nice to look into this if you are on your own schedule. Okay, another one is going to be decreasing your expenses. Now, sometimes can be tricky, but it's something you could look into. So what you can do, and something I've actually done myself, is I check for any subscriptions I may have that I no longer need. So let's say Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Apple TV, etc., right? You want to check through all your subscriptions and see if you're actually using all of that. If you aren't using those subscriptions, potentially delete them and only stick with one subscription for now. Now, sometimes it can be tricky, but I've actually saved quite a bit of money just by looking at the monthly subscriptions I had. You can also decrease your expenses by not going out as much to eat, like takeout food. Instead, try to cook at home more. It'll save you money over time. If you love coffee, maybe stick with at-home coffee instead of going to Starbucks in the morning every day. There are a lot of great options out there to lower your coffee expenses, which I can touch on in a different video. But you'll save a ton of money by not spending on your takeout places or ordering your coffees or breakfast somewhere else. You should also look into your cell phone service provider and see if you're getting the best offer. In fact, look into other providers as well and see which one is more beneficial for you. So for instance, sometimes actual providers will actually pay for you to switch over. So if you have something left owed on your phone bill, they may pay the rest so you do switch over. Not always, but it's something to look in. But ideally, just cutting back these few expenses can make a big difference financially for your future. Now, one of the probably the least common one is actually doing nothing. This is generally what we would not recommend, but it's good to understand what can happen if you have debt and stop paying. Well, generally nothing good, and it will tend to get worse. Doing nothing will cause creditors to potentially sue you for the unpaid debt. They may sue you when they think they can start collecting on the debt, such as your property, amount of the debt you still owe, state laws on garnishment, and the statutes of limitation. If you are being sued, there are a few things you can try to do before going to the court. For instance, you can actually try to settle the debt on your own. Though you also have to remember you can still be sued in these debt settlement programs. If you are in court, most judges will be lenient depending on your case with a valid reason. Though it is always a good idea to try and resolve the issue before heading in to court. Worst comes to worst, if a judge goes against you, a few things may happen. The debt collector can attempt 4 different ways. For example, wage garnishment of a paycheck, a levy or garnishment of a bank account, a lien on property or assets, for instance like a home mortgage, and continue normal collection practices. This is why you should never get to this point of doing nothing, because that will become the biggest mistake. So you may have experienced a recent financial hardship, but you don't want to pursue bankruptcy. Just like I said, you're not alone. Many people are interested to avoid bankruptcy. So hopefully this video has been able to provide those different options and ideally provide some of the aspects of the different alternatives to bankruptcy that'll ideally help you make the most informed decision. And as I touched on earlier, please don't hesitate to take the bankruptcy alternative calculator below in the description to see the costs and compare the pros and cons for all of these options with your specific data. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.